everyone, it's Dodie and I'm here with my Sam Poole Design Team project. And what's fun about this for me is I haven't opened this in a while because I made this back at the end of January, the beginning of February. And so I'm gonna open it just like someone would who's getting it for the first time. And we're gonna discover what I did, how I made this. So here it is. I did have a little faux gardenia that I just sort of stuck there that is very removable. I'm going to take it off because we're going to open it up. But it is a sort of flip-flop journal, a version of a flip-flop or an accordion journal. It's made with an envelope base of small business envelopes. And my focus with this journal was I love Sam's photo collections. They, to me, are one of the best parts of her digitals, are her really wonderful old photo collections. And so I went through and I tried to use some photos that I actually hadn't used before. And in addition to that, I used a lot of her neutral and cream-based digital kits because I love them so much. That's the other thing I love about Sam's digitals are her neutral kits like French Bureau and French creams and her Sepia Couture and just so many. But anyway, I did put a few pops of pink, I think, in here and there. I see pink peeking out. But we're going to open it now and see what I did. I'm so excited. So this is what I'm considering to be the front. And if you flip it over, I would say this is the back, but you could turn it around and make that the front. They both have little photo pictures. So I'm going to open it up with this pretty piece of sari silk that I used to tie it shut with. And first of all, this, I love this little darling picture. I'm gonna try to remember where I got all of these, but I will list in the more box below all of the different digital kits I used. So I did make a little attachment topper that is attached with sari silk, and this opens up and this is one of Sam's cabinet card collections. That's another collection of Sam's I use over and over. I use the cabinet cards and I reconstruct like vintage cabinet cards from her pictures. Oh, look, here is a blank spot. And oh, I wonder if I can find something to put in there. Well, let's see what I have. Well, I have this photo. This is one of mine. This isn't Sam, but I'm going to stick it down in there because obviously this is leftover Gisela from Lavish Lace when she generously collaborated with us. And I did find this lovely piece and stuck it in there. Oh, look at here. This is pretty. Oh, I remember I made this really pretty tag. This comes from Little French Book. And it made a really lovely tag of the Eiffel Tower. And it just fits really nicely into that pocket there. And what's paper clipped here is, I'm gonna move that, it pulls out, and it's like a little folio. And here's one of Sam's pictures. I love the long, thin picture. And here's some more of her from one of her My collections. And that just snuggles into that pocket like that. There we go. And then I sort of secured it with that rusted paper clip. Now this doesn't flip and flop as much as a lot of them do, and it's very, very, very chunky. And so I'm going to flip it over here. And then what I did here is I made a removable journal. And this comes out of this pocket here. And here's another one of these wonderful old photos. I love these. And this, I made this on this wonderful Indian watercolor paper that has a lovely decal edge. And then this, I think I used mostly, this is Sam's, this is one of the, I think, French creams or French Bureau. I used her stamps. This comes from Little French Book. It was the perfect size to make into this, the way those pages print out, they're the perfect size for this, just this size little tiny journal. And I did stamp all kinds of stamps. This is also Little French Book, I think. And here's some coffee dyed paper. But it's just a wonderful little writing journal because I always try to include in all of my journals a place where you can write. And I'm just going to set that to the side because I'm not going to struggle trying to get it back in to this pocket right here. Now this pocket, this little tag comes from one of her most recent releases. I did go in and print off a couple of those things and attach that little tag because I love it. It's so teeny with the 1827 on it, and I added a violet. And here we have another one of Sam's My Collection pictures, and you can see I've backed it with her cabinet cards. And look at it, it looks just like a real old cabinet card. And it just fits perfectly. I love this one in particular, the London. It's one of my favorites. And this is just an old piece of poetry, which Sharon Hirth gave me, this wonderful little book of old poetry, and I just treasure it so much. And here's a little envelope that I made out of, I think this is Sepia Couture. And I just collaged using, this comes from French Bureau, and I'm not sure which one this comes from, but these are all Sam Poole digitals. And what's wonderful is if you don't have real French ephemera, those kits, they just go a long way. They're wonderful to have faux French ephemera. I love this picture right here. It is one of my most favorite ones. I just added a little pink distress ink to her cheeks there. It does open up, and here's another tag that I made. This is all made with vintage, and here's just a little bit of something, but this is all vintage book page, but it just fits behind there like that. And here is this is one of Sam's French roses. It made a really nice triangular uptuck, and I've tucked up in there this comes from one of my most favorite pieces of paper. I think it's Ladies in White. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. But then you flip it over and there's a little lace pocket with another one of Sam's wonderful photos. Look at her. Isn't she beautiful? And I also turned her into a cabinet card with Sam's cabinet card backs. They are like so useful. I use them all the time. I have them printed out all the time. That just slides back up there in that. And then we come to the back side, which we have this sweet little tiny, I'm sure it was a tin type in the original that Sam probably has. And you open up this side, and this side has some signatures. And here's an envelope I made from Little French Book. I love Little French Book. And I just included a blank piece, a tag of watercolor paper, and it just slides into there. This comes from Springtime in France, which is another one of my most favorite Sam kits. And here is just a selection of tags. This wonderful tag, one of her music sheets. I love the shade of her music sheets in French creams. I just love the way the shade that they come out to be. And I'm gonna put this back in here like that, I think. And then here's this cabinet card, just the back side of one. I love this lady too. She's so stately. She looks either French or like she's from Iowa. I don't know which one, both. Maybe she was from France and emigrated to Iowa, but she just looks like she's from there to me. And this darling, darling, darling little picture, which I enlarged a whole set of the cabinet cards so that I could put them on larger pictures, and that's exactly what I've done here. I just backed it with another cabinet card. This is another one of my favorite Sam things, that little tiny little label. I have used, in this signature, I've used antique French book pages. Here's another tiny little skinny picture that I just love. Here's a fragment from one of my cuttings, and I just stapled it on there. Some nice writing spaces in this signature. And here's some vintage papers that I've put into this signature. This comes from my Welsh hymn book. I'm going to show you that. I love this thing. I use it, but it was really full. I'm going to be sad if I use it all up. And then this comes from a French missal. Just some really sweet religious pages, but I put those together with just a little scrap of coffee dyed paper, and those just fit into that little tuck spot there. And here, and then there's a writing space here. There's a little wax seal of a rose that I just put on that coffee dyed paper. Here's a little tuck spot. This comes from Pink Artiste, and this is another one of her new tags that she just put out. I love those new tags. They're so sweet. I love numbers, and this is 19 April 1962. I just love that. Here's another sweet picture of a little girl. I wonder to see how I backed this one. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yep, I did. I made it into a cabinet card with my set of enlarged cabinet card backs. I just love the cabinet cards. They're my favorite. And then I took one of from her haberdashery kits. I took this button card and I poked holes all the way through it. I sewed a little line of thread, and then I took some of my really pretty old vintage mother of pearl buttons and just sewed them onto that card. I love this. This is from Pink Artiste as well. I just love this, and I did put I backed it with avocado dyed paper. And this comes from her Swan tag kit. I love these tags, and I just made a little uptuck of mica, and here's some really lovely tatting down at the bottom of that page. And then tucked away in here is an envelope. This is, I covered this envelope. I opened it all the way up and then covered it with Sepia Couture, and let's see if there's something. Oh, there is. One of the Swan tags is inside of that, and it just makes a really lovely envelope just tucked away secretly in there. This actually is a piece of fabric that I got from, I think it's Homestead Treasures. She's been on Etsy for a really long time, and if you ever get a chance to look at her shop, she has the most wonderful, she stamps on muslin, and her muslin is so soft. It's wonderful. And here is a little envelope I folded up, and I decorated it with a little bit of blouse material, a doily, and of course I had to include one of my all-time favorite Sam Poole things from Sepia Couture, the little tiny envelopes, which is just stuffed with some little extras, a little notepad made from little cast-offs that just fit into that little envelope like that. And that all fits into this little tiny folder I made. So cute. And the little envelope goes back in there. And the lady, she's so pretty. Isn't she pretty? I backed her with coffee dyed paper. And I just like that, those words, that fits in that nice, that's a very generous pocket there. I love this lady too. I've never used her before, and she is really, really lovely. And I don't know what's behind her. It appears she has something. Yes, she's a pocket. See, I made her into a pocket, and she has another person and some book page tucked away inside there with her. And then here's just a really sweet little cluster that does come off. Here's one of my bulldog clips that I like to age up and put some little bling on there with them, and just all the little different bits of paper that I used making this journal. I turned it into a flip, and backing it is an authentic vintage French letter that I have. I had come across a nice stash of French letters about 2 years ago, and they're getting low. I don't know, I'm gonna start copying them. I'm not gonna put so many originals in my journals. And here's another little signature full of old book page, and here's another one of Sam's pictures. Isn't that sweet? Some ledger paper, just some old book pages, and then another. This is a copy of one of those French letters I was just telling you about. This is a copy. This isn't an original, but I did copy it and try to make it look old. I'm not going to unfold it all the way because it took me forever to get it folded just right. But it does, I put it up under that lace up tuck right there and just like secured it with a little paper clip, a tiny paper clip. And then here is, in the middle of this signature, which is coffee dyed paper, a little selection of, I made a little paper band, and I just tucked in some more poetry and some old spelling book and some avocado dyed paper. It sort of has a mostly cream theme with touches of pink in this journal. Here's another one of my favorite little envelopes, and let's see if there's anything. Yes, and there's something tucked away in here. Oh yeah, this is one of the Swan cards. I love these. I just love these Swan cards, and I've never really used them very much, so I did go out of my way to print them off for this journal. More old book pages, and I had to include, this is my favorite from Laundry Days, that beautiful face, and I put a violet on there and stamped, and I always cover the backs of all of my photos with coffee dyed paper. I like the way it looks. It gives it a more vintage look. And then here is another very, very faded. Oh, I love her, but she's really faded, and I print these all on actually photo paper, because I've come to discover that Sam's photos print out best on photo paper. And this is a paint chip from Home Depot, and I just embossed it, and excuse me, this is one of my digitals, but I glued it onto the back and just embossed that paint chip. And then here we're coming to the end. Here's another one of the long skinny photos, and another tag from one of her most recent releases. I love the shape of this, and I printed it on foxed paper on the back, and just attached it with this old rusty paper clip. And then here's my final pocket that is also, I don't have anything in here, but you could put something in there. And here's one of my snippets that I made last year. A year ago, I was making these, and I've almost used them all up. And another one of the Swan tags just down in there. And then we get back to the beginning, and there you have it. It's, I just love making these envelope journals, and I love how fat and chunky they are, and how stuffed full of stuff they are. And there's room to write, and there's room to tuck things away, and you could either keep this in or out. It does go in here, right here. It's made with the Indian watercolor paper, so it just slides back in there like this. There we go. I'm gonna get it back in there. It's matte, so it's not shiny, so it doesn't slide as easily as it could if it were made on cardstock. But I do just love this journal. I really do. So I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed it because it's been so long since I've looked inside of it. I did open it up, I think a couple weekends ago, to put in the extra new tags from her new releases. But I love cream. I'm going to embark on something more colorful next time. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, but for this time I was at a place in January where I needed to be calm and I needed to be just thinking soothing thoughts, and so I immediately turned to Sam's neutral collections, which are so lovely. I'll list all of the different the papers I use down below, and I really appreciate everybody. I love this team so much, and such a lovely group of gals, and I hope you all have a really, really wonderful weekend, and thank you so much for watching and sharing with us on the Sam Poole Design Team. Bye.